Good evening. Welcome to Destination Douglasville Live. Today we're talking about selling your home in Douglas County for the most money possible. So thank you so much for joining me. Either you're going to join me live tonight or you're catching the replay. Please put any questions in the comments. I'm Shahida Hill, your local Douglas County Realtor. And I am going to get right into it. But again, if I have any questions, I'll prioritize those seller questions. But go ahead and put any questions in the chat. All of the replays from last week, I went live about buying in Douglas County. Then you'll be able to watch that replay as well. All right, let's get into it. So Douglas County is still in a seller's market. As of February data, the data comes out pretty much at the end of the month. February, we had about 2 months of inventory. So anything less than 3 is generally considered a seller's market. So we're still in a seller's market. So if you're selling your house in Douglasville or anywhere in Douglas County, Lithia Springs, Winston, the entire county is in a seller's market. However, your pool of buyers has gotten much smaller because as of today, interest rates are at about 7%. So if we're comparing that to where they were, you do have a lot more, you have a lot less people looking for your home. So I'm going to go over 3 things that I want you to be mindful of if you're thinking about selling your house in Douglas County. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat and I will answer. All right. So the first thing I want you to be mindful of is get a pre-listing inspection. So this will be an inspection that's going to help you find things that a buyer is most likely to find. And this is very important because the last 2 years, after COVID, pretty much there were so many buyers in the market. You can give them anything. You could have peel and paint on the wall or old HVAC system. They really didn't care because there was so little inventory and so many buyers. The demand was very, very high. And although we're still in a seller's market, that has really, where before we would have average days on the market was maybe, 5 or 6, right? During the height of everything, it is much longer now. Again, watch my video on buying a house in Douglasville. So you have to be very mindful of that. When buyers have choice, they have more choice than they have before. They're not making a quick decision, and they are looking at all of that deferred maintenance that you haven't taken care of. So you want to be really mindful of that, and getting a pre-listing inspection will help you deal with some of those things, because if you get an offer, right, they're going to do an inspection. So they're going to see a lot of the things that, they may ask for a credit from you, because they want this fix or that fix, or they may reduce their price or reduce their offer, or cancel their offer altogether or terminate their offer altogether. So you really want to be mindful of this. I highly suggest, especially if you've been in the house for a long time and you haven't been maintaining it all that well, go ahead and get a pre-listing inspection and take care of those things. All right. Thank you again for joining me. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments and I will get to them. I'll prioritize those. My next one is for you to modernize and update. My house was built in 2005, and there are a lot of homes in Douglas County that were built 2005 through 2010. That was like a big booming time for Douglas County. So that means my house is, approaching almost 20 years. So there should be some updates that you're doing in your home. And my daughter, she visited a friend's house recently, and she was like, well, her house is modern. And I said, what do you mean by modern? And she said, well, it's like white and gray. Okay. And we have like the oak cabinets in our kitchen. If you look at any model home, they're probably going to have a light gray paint in the house, and they're going to have light countertops, either white. Sometimes they're doing like a gray cabinets, a gray countertop, well, I keep on saying countertop, sorry, a gray cabinet or a white cabinet, just really, really light colors, really light countertops. So that is the new trend, right? For what buyers are looking for. So you want to try to mirror some of those looks. I have an example. Hopefully I can pull it up pretty easily, but I have an example of what I am talking about. Something like this. So a lot of people who have homes in Douglas County that were built in the earlier 2000s may have a home that looks like this, or darker cabinets. Maybe you even still have like a black refrigerator or black appliances, black microwaves. Now people are looking for stainless steel, lighter cabinets, LVP at the minimum, right? So they want a little bit of an upgrade. So if you can do some of this for a really good price. I got a quote on painting my cabinets that came in at about $2,800, because he was explaining how much work. You have to take all the cabinets off, you have to caulk, you have to prime, then you have to paint. But you can really just try to do some things to make them as modern, your home appear as modern as possible. I would look around at some of the model homes, even Pinterest pictures, and see what people really like, to try to mirror some of those looks. Even if you update some of your light fixtures, that sort of thing, light fixtures, flooring, I would spend the most time in your kitchen and your bathroom. So just, update and modernize as much as possible. I want to make sure I don't have any questions. If you have any questions, thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, just go ahead and put it in the comments. All right. So that's number 2. Number 3, price your home right. Okay. The buyer pool, as I said before, is much smaller. Your buyer pool is much, much smaller, because again, fewer people can afford. Affordability is a huge issue right now. Fewer people can afford homes because of the higher interest rates, where prices haven't really come down dramatically. So in my last video, I said, I think home prices are up 4% over last year. In February, they were up. So prices haven't come down in Douglas County. So they're not going up 20% like they were in 2020, 2021, 2022, but they still are going up. So, they're not saving on the price for the most part, but they are, really paying for that higher interest. So again, either in the high 6s and low 7s coming into the spring. So you want to be mindful of that. You're not going to get multiple offers on your property. So if you're looking even at, say you had a neighbor that, there were multiple offers on their property and they sold, say in June, July, when the Fed really started to ramp up, because they started out pretty slow, last March, they started with their first interest rate hike. And then after that, they really ramped up toward the summer because they saw how hot inflation was. So they started, more aggressively raising rates. So it was around about July, August that really increased interest rates. So you want to be mindful that you're going to have less people. So it's the first impression really, really matters. So if you have people that are scheduling showings, that means they can afford your home. And so you want to make the best impression the first time. You can't count on them coming back to look at it again. So it's very, very important that you make sure that your house is show ready, that you're trying to modernize, update, really get your landscaping together and really, try to impress as much as possible. Because again, the buyer pool is smaller. Really meet with your agent. If you need an agent, all of my information is in the description. But when you are meeting with your agent, you're not going to go back and say, oh, well, they got 600,000. They may have, you really want to look at their list price. What did they list for versus what did they get? Because a lot of times, agents price the home at the market rate, but then because there was competition, people were doing above ask, that sort of thing, that pushed their price up. So look at your neighbor's list price and then see what they actually got. And your price is probably closer to what your neighbor listed the house for versus what they got. Because, last summer we were getting 10, 15, 20 offers on a property. So we're getting way above list price. And right now, on average, in the month of February, most Douglas County most Douglas County sellers are getting 97% of their list price. So they're not getting the full list price. They're definitely not getting above list price. So you just want to make sure you are priced competitively and you really have like your features listed. You want to have a video, maybe you use social media as much as possible to make sure you're advertising that home appropriately. All right, so I have a few more people that have logged on. I want to make sure I don't have any questions. If you have, thank you for joining me again. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Tonight, we're talking about selling your home in Douglas County, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Tomorrow, I have a video out with the top March activities in Douglas County. So definitely watch that. I've had a few people ask me about like Easter egg hunts and that sort of thing. So I'm coming out with that video. All right. I want to make sure. I also want to share my ultimate Douglas County, I'm adding that guide to Douglas County. So Douglas County has the county, of course, and then we have the city of Douglasville. So depending on whether you're moving inside the city limits or if you're moving outside the city limits, you will still, some people have both. They have Douglas County government and they have the city government, right? So you need to know everybody that's representing you. And it's very important, more important than it ever was before, for you to be aware of what's happening in your county and your city. And what I found living here, everything's very separate. It's hard to find, everything in one place. So I put together one document that puts all your Douglas County resources and your and your city of Douglasville resources together in one place. And this includes your representatives. This includes your school board members, your Parks and Recreation for Douglas, Parks and Recreation for Douglasville. So everything in one place. The download for that will be in the description of this video as well. All right, I see 5 people online right now with me live. Please let me know if you have any questions so I can answer them. I'd be happy to. All right, so Jay Troy. Okay. So Jay Troy, if you are taking any buyer questions, I'll take one because I don't have any seller questions, Jay, at all. What are your opinions, perspectives on 30134 versus 30135? So in general, and I have a video on my channel about the most affordable zip codes in Douglas County. 30134 is generally speaking more affordable than 30135. So if you're talking about affordability, then that zip code on average, like we, take all the homes in that zip code and we average them out, the ones in 30134 are going to be more affordable than the ones in 30135. And that's just in general. But, Douglas County is not that huge, right? So Carroll County, in comparison, even though they're more rural, their land space is much larger. So they have more land in that county than Douglas County does. So, you go across the train tracks, you go down the street, or, you'll be in that zip code. I think where I have, where I go get my mail. So I live in 30135, but I get my mail at 30134 because I have like a business address. So, I would say price-wise, again, 30134 is more affordable than 30135. I would watch that video, but that's my perspective. Hopefully that answered your question. If you have a follow-up question to that, please let me know. And thank you so much for joining me. I would definitely download that guide because that could give you some information about, the county as a whole. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I think that is it. So yeah, download my guide. Make sure if you have any questions about selling your house, I'll have all of my information in the comments. I have 2 new neighborhood tours coming out later this month. I went to Grace Lake Grace Lake subdivision. We have a lot of lake subdivisions. And I also went to Charlton Crossing. It's all one community. So I did that video together because they're not all one community, but they're connected. So I did that video together. And then I went to Stewart's Creek at Chapel Hill. I did that community as well. So if you're looking for different communities in Douglas County, I have a playlist of all like my driving tours. I drive through the communities so you can see what they look like. I'm sure some of them have been in 30134 and some of them have been in 30135. So yeah, check out my driving tours. And again, I have my video coming out tomorrow about all of the March activities that you may be interested in that are happening in Douglas County. All right, any other questions before I sign off? As long as you guys are here, I'll be here. So I see you guys are still on. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, I did want to say Douglas County is a very unique county, data-wise, income-wise, all of that. But one of the things that makes Douglas County great as far as other counties in Georgia, we're like right on average as far as home ownership. 60 on average in the state, 64% or so of people own their home. And we're right there at about 64.5. Of course, we want to make it higher. We want more and more people to own homes because they'll have a greater sense of community and buy-in when you own your house. So, but we're at the state average. So that's a good thing. So if you're trying to figure out how our home ownership to rentals are, we're at about 64.5% of our residents are homeowners. So I'm going to, I think, end on that little tidbit. If you have any questions, I am going to be live every Thursday with different topics. So I'll see you next Thursday. I think I'm talking about my favorite neighborhood. So next week, Thursday, same time, 6 o'clock, I'll be talking about my favorite neighborhood. So you don't want to miss that. If you have any questions about neighborhoods, I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Please like and subscribe to my channel for new videos every week. And also comment and I'll answer your questions throughout the week as well for those of you watching the replay. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.